Our four Gospels do vary somewhat in the stories and teachings of Jesus, which they contain. All four, however, come together at the point of Jesus' triumphal entry into Jerusalem, the beginning of Holy Week. Luke's Gospel contains 24 chapters. We're going to be reading from chapter 19 today. Starting with chapter 19 to the end, Luke focuses on Holy Week. That's 25% of his Gospel. John's Gospel contains 21 chapters by our reckoning. His account of Holy Week starts in chapter 11, so it's about half of his Gospel is set in the last week of Jesus' life. Some details of the triumphal entry raise questions. Luke's geography is confusing. Bethphage was west of Jerusalem, and Bethany was about 2 miles southeast of the city, so why he mentions them together in verse 28, we don't really know. Jesus sends his disciples to find a young donkey that no one has ever sat on before, and there's a code phrase given so the owners won't object when the disciples take the animal. We don't know whether this was prearranged. Is it an example of Jesus' omniscience? In this life, we're not likely ever to know the answers. We're also not sure whether there's a deliberate intent here to create a messianic moment or to show that Jesus understands himself as a different kind of Messiah than the Jews had been expecting for hundreds of years. If the Messiah was to be a military conqueror, which is what the Jews wanted, he would come into the city on a horse, in armor. But Jesus rides a lowly donkey. Christians interpreted this as a fulfillment of a prophecy from Zechariah 9, but Jewish scholars of that time did not read that passage as a messianic prophecy. So Jesus is defining the role in his own way, a way that will lead to the cross at the end of the week. In Luke's account, something is missing, as you'll see when we read it, and it's the palms. He is the only one who does not mention branches or palms or something being strewn before Jesus as he enters. He also says that it's Jesus' disciples who start the shouts of praise. So we know that Jesus was accompanied by more than just the 12. It's a crowd of disciples who sing his praises in terms very similar to the message which the angels delivered to the shepherds at the time of Jesus' birth, peace in heaven and glory in the highest. Let's read this passage now as you find it in your bulletin. After Jesus had said this, he went on ahead, going up to Jerusalem. As he approached Bethphage and Bethany at the hill called the Mount of Olives, he sent 2 of his disciples, saying to them, "Go to the village ahead of you, and as you enter it, you will find a colt tied there, which no one has ever ridden. Untie it and bring it here. If anyone asks you, 'Why are you untying it?' say, 'The Lord needs it.'" Those who were sent ahead went and found it just as he had told them. As they were untying the colt, its owners asked them, "Why are you untying the colt?" And they replied, "The Lord needs it." They brought it to Jesus, threw their cloaks on the colt, and put Jesus on it. As he went along, people spread their cloaks on the road. When he came near the place where the road goes down the Mount of Olives, the whole crowd of disciples began joyfully to praise God in loud voices for all the miracles they had seen. "Blessed is the King who comes in the name of the Lord. Peace in heaven and glory in the highest." Some of the Pharisees in the crowd said to Jesus, "Teacher, rebuke your disciples." "I tell you," he replied, "if they keep quiet, the stones will cry out." This is the word of the Lord.